It's been a while since Eve and I met, ever since I snuffed out Jamie's life. After that, Eve and I became partners in crime, continuing our dark deeds together. When Jamie vanished, the cops swarmed the campus, poking around, asking questions, but we stayed one step ahead. We didn't let the heat stop us, though. Oh no, we just took our show on the road, finding new ways to satisfy our twisted desires. Luckily, Eve knew how to cover our tracks, so the cops kept coming up empty-handed. We decided to lay low for a bit around campus and let things cool off, but that didn't mean we stopped seeing each other. No way. We were like magnets, drawn to each other. After finishing up my semester, I moved in with Eve. One day I had a brilliant idea for our next victim. "Eve, listen to this. I got a great idea," I said, while rushing in the house, completely forgetting it was my birthday. When I walked into the living room, Eve had a surprise waiting for me. She stood there in nothing, only wearing a tiny party hat with a big smile on her face, and next to her hung a man, sedated and helpless. But I couldn't help. Not even after all this time, the sight of Eve completely naked kept taking my breath away. My eyes scanned her from top to toe. "Surprise, happy birthday, sweetheart," Eve said, with a seducing smile on her face. I couldn't tear my gaze away from her, even though there was a man dangling right there next to her. Eve had given me another kill as a birthday gift, and before we got down to business, we indulged in some physical activities. We didn't care that our victim was watching, bound, and gagged. We actually fell asleep afterward, spent and satisfied. A few hours later, Eve woke me up. "It's time to unwrap your present," she said. She meant that literally. She had everything set up, ready to go. "Don't get dressed," she said. "We don't want to ruin our clothes." I grabbed a knife, and as I carved into the man's flesh, I could see the agony in his eyes. But Eve was right there with me, sharing in the thrill. She embraced me from behind. I felt her soft skin, the curves of her perfect attributes, and the warmth from her body on mine. She took my hand holding the knife and joined me as we ended this poor man's life. As we watched the life drain from his body, we slit his wrists and decided to put the man out of his misery. I put down the knife and turned to Eve and grabbed her. We slayed around on the plastic in the blood. We enjoyed ourselves in our latest kill. Once we were done, we cleaned up the mess, disposing of the body like it was just another chore. We dissolved the remains in acid in a tub in the hidden room in the closet of her bedroom, leaving no trace behind. "Thank you," I mouthed to Eve. That was the best birthday present I have ever had. I actually lost count of how many lives we'd taken together, but it didn't matter. What mattered was Eve, her captivating presence, her intoxicating allure. She had me completely under her spell. And the best part? The police were clueless, bumbling around with no idea what we were up to. We were like ghosts, slipping through their fingers time and time again. For some time now, I guess you can call us serial killers. We knew we had to be cautious, leaving no traces behind us if we wanted to keep our spree going without getting caught. One of our go-to methods for finding victims was when Eve dolled herself up, radiating confidence and allure, showing a bit more skin than most. With her charm, she could reel in any unsuspecting man at casinos or high-end bars. Her confidence was magnetic, drawing in lonely souls like moths to a flame. I always got a kick out of seeing who she'd bring home. But one time, Eve surprised me by bringing back a woman instead. It was a rare deviation from our usual routine, but it showed just how irresistible Eve could be to anyone. We always went to the bars and casinos together, but made sure to arrive separately, so no one would suspect Eve to be accompanied by anyone. I could see how easy it was for her to strike up a conversation with any man. All eyes were on Eve, no matter where we went. As soon as Eve signaled me, I went home to get ready. I waited in the closet and I watched as Eve and her companion entered our apartment. When I heard only female voices, I hesitated, unsure of what was happening. It wasn't until later, when I burst out of the closet in my Slenderman mask, that I realized Eve had brought home a woman. My weapon of choice, a square block of glass, knocked them out cold. Sometimes I hit too hard. One time I messed up, hitting a guy too hard and accidentally ending his life before we could have our twisted fun. The glass block became a memento of our journey, bearing scars from each kill. But Eve didn't mind the mishaps. For us, the thrill came from doing it together. The kill, the aftermath, the lovemaking, even the cleanup. Usually, and I'm not sure how it started, but as we had bound and gagged our victims and secured they couldn't escape or make a sound, we would wait for them to wake up from the hit. They would see us naked, in the middle of making love, before we'd end their life. It gave us a thrill. We liked being watched, knowing the voyeur would never speak of it to anyone. We felt like the perfect couple after going public with our relationship, following my departure from university. However, the university frowned upon our union, prompting us to move to a new city. Eve found work at a prestigious library, and we purchased a house where a previous owner had met a grisly end in his bedroom. The house came equipped with a hidden panic room, perfect for our sinister activities. During the day, I worked at a local bar, using the inheritance I received after a relative's passing to pursue my swimming career. Everything seemed to be falling into place for us. We were happy, our body count continued to rise, and the police remained clueless. We were meticulous, ensuring there was never any evidence left behind. Our victims' remains were dissolved, leaving no trace for the authorities to find. Despite our careful planning, we slipped up once, but sometimes that's all it takes. The day we nearly slipped up began like any other. We had meticulously planned every detail of our victims' capture, torture, and eventual demise. We were giddy with excitement, eager to try a new approach to our twisted game. This was before we left my college town with only Jamie and one other innocent victim under our belt. We needed to find our next target far from campus, away from the prying eyes of those who might notice the missing. We stumbled upon a series of dark inspiration videos online and decided to give it a shot. We aimed big, targeting an internet sensation we'd seen online. Him, Eve said. She took a liking to a wannabe bodybuilder whose muscular physique posed a potential challenge, but he was still just a wannabe. "Are you sure about this one?" I asked Eve. She simply nodded, flashing me a wicked smile. In one of his videos, he and his friends staged a kidnapping in a parking lot, adding to his allure as our next victim. We spent days tracking his movements, studying his routines, and conducting stakeouts to learn his habits. One night, while spying on him in his backyard, things got heated between Eve and me. We couldn't resist each other's allure, mirroring the intimacy we'd later share in front of our prey. Then came the day we decided to make our move, capturing him in broad daylight, a risky departure from our usual nocturnal activities. As he emerged from the store with his groceries, we pulled our rented van behind him, shielding us from prying eyes. Eve, disguised in a red baseball cap, a revealing top, and a wig, was at the wheel. I couldn't tear my gaze away from her. "That's him," Eve whispered. With the last bag loaded, I leaped from the van, striking him in the head with my glass block and injecting a mix of horse tranquilizer to ensure his compliance. "Go, go, go," I urged Eve as I slammed the door shut. She handled the getaway flawlessly, driving as if nothing out of the ordinary had occurred. Back at our place, we strung him up in Eve's hidden chamber, draining him through tubes. As he began to stir, I wondered aloud if I'd overdone it with the tranquilizer. "Maybe," Eve replied casually. "Why don't you go see what's in the bag on the couch?" she suggested, hinting at our intimate ritual. Rushing to the couch, I found a bag Eve had prepared containing intimate oils, lubes, a revealing suit for me, and a mask. With a smirk, I wore it and brought in the oils and joined Eve, who lay naked on an air mattress surrounded by flickering candles. As our victim regained consciousness, his eyes widened at the sight of us, covered in oil and engaged in our intimate ritual. His attempts at speech were muffled, drowned out by the rumbling of his chains. Though weakened by the sedative knock on his head and the blood loss, he managed to break free, lashing out at me. He chipped my chin, sending me to the floor. I looked up. I saw Eve. Never have I seen a person this calm and confident. She hurled the glass block at his face, stunning him before plunging a knife into his chest. Covered in his blood, she turned to me with a calmness like no one else. "Let's start over, sweetheart," she said, as if she was completely untouched by what had just happened to us. My heart was pounding. I was terrified we had messed up so badly it was over. I thought it was the end. I looked at Eve. I took her, and we got busy on the mattress again, as if nothing had ever happened. That was the day I ascended to the ranks of a serial killer.